So, basically, your sole reason for living is bollocks.
I feel sorry for you, you zeros. You know but this. What's going to live on after you die? I'll tell you, nothing, that's what. This house will become a shrine. And punks and skins and rastas will all gather round and hold their hands in sorrow for their fallen leader. And all the grown-ups will say, but why are the kids crying? And the kids will say, haven't you heard? Rik is dead. The people's poet is dead. And then one particularly sensitive and articulate teenager will say, other kids, do you understand nothing? How can Rik be dead when we still have his poems?
So yeah, I just walked into my kitchen to stir pasta, and over the radio the sentence begins, the actor Rik Mayall famous for, and then that's when you already know what's coming. You know, as soon as the sentence starts with someone's name famous for, it's basically, that's it. You know before the newscaster has even finished the sentence that one of your favourite comedians ever is gone. And I don't mean just like one of my favourite comedians. I don't mean this guy was in my top 10, my top 20. I mean literally, this is not half-hearted. Rik Mayall was my favourite comedian of all time, #1. Massive part of my life growing up. Massive influence. I mean, he was the Rik fucking Mayall, you know. Me and my mate Matthew Staines, you know, if you ever do see this, we used to do young ones and bottom routines all the time. We even had a tall guy called Adam who was basically Neil, and I guess Nicky was Mike, the cool guy. But there was no, I mean, you can't even assess, you can't even actually give value or a quantity to how much Rik Mayall, the young ones, bottom and everything, and not affecting my life, was part of my life. We used to quote it endlessly in drama class. We used to like cheat, basically. We used to do Rik Mayall routines and try and pass them off as our own. It was fantastic. I mean, anytime someone says something, I mean, double entendre, you know, always. Rik Mayall's the reason I always do that, you know. It's every time someone says, oh, I see your point, why are my trousers falling down? You say it, no one gets the reference, but you keep saying it years and years on. You know, it's just these characters, well, they're always, my top two, you know, his best characters, obviously leading characters. Lord Flashheart was amazing. But my favourite characters of all time, Rik from the Young Ones, without a doubt, is in that list. Richard from Bottom is in that list. You know, Rik from the Young Ones was this like bolshy, anti-Thatcherite, people's poet. It was just absolutely fantastic to watch. I mean, I used to watch the Young Ones religiously as a kid. I mean, I was way too young. I was way too young to be watching the Young Ones, but I don't know, my mum let me watch it, and it's not one of those things where I say it had no negative side effect on me, but realistically it did, because I quote it regularly, and I still, you know, to be honest, a lot of the political opinions that I still have today pretty much do come from that show. You know, Richard, he was just the ultimate bird repellent. He was just the physical manifestation of everything women fear, coming up to them in a bar and talking to them. It was fantastic. It was just hilarious. It was kind of influenced as well, because you know, I know I said like on the blog post and that about how, you know, how captions came about, because it was a reference, it was a commentary on YouTube as a whole, the community and how people talk to each other on it. But also it was the whole self degradation, you know, taking the piss at yourself, knocking yourself down, making yourself seem less appealing for a laugh. I guess I got that from Bottom. It was, you know, you're willing to not take yourself seriously and make yourself look like a complete prat to get a joke. Because, well, I mean, if you take yourself too seriously, why do that? I mean, for years, I guess, you know, it reduced me to tears of laughter for years. So now I'm going to have to sort of shed some unwarranted, not unwarranted, you know what I mean, like out of character tears for Rik Mayall, whereas normally it's laughter, now it's actually sadness. You know, I mean, how can the world go on without Lord Flashheart? Woof! I don't have a lot of mustard to give it a good woof. You know, Rick would, I guess Rick would have wanted you to be more, well, wants you to be happy, you know what I mean? But, remember the good stuff and the classic. I mean, to me, he was a pioneer. And when I first saw Drop Dead Fred, and for years now, I've posted comments online on YouTube about it. Whenever I see anyone slag off Drop Dead Fred, I ask them why. Because as far as I'm concerned, had Rik Mayall maybe been American, if he hadn't been a British actor with very little, exposure in the United States, maybe some people might have seen him on what you call PBS, and that in The Young Ones, Blackadder, at the time before Fred came out, I reckon that he would have gone on to be Ace Ventura or maybe The Mask. He could have, if he'd been known, because he would have been fighting Jim Carrey. Do you mean if Drop Dead Fred had done better at the box office? I reckon he would have been fighting Jim Carrey for certain of these crazy zany roles. I was going to do some videos next week anyway about top 6 Bruce Campbell films, and I was going to do top 6 sci-fi shows of all time, start putting them together, and I was going to do an episode where, based on the blog, if you go to the blog rewindthatcast.blogspot.com, and if you read the blog post titled the nature of the YouTube channel, you'll realise the YouTube channel is actually quite meta and it's actually quite a joke. So I was going to actually turn that into a video where I get to talk about my favourite YouTubers and I get to reference them, parody them, do some bad impressions and stuff, and tell you where the shades and where the cap came from and why I've got so many posters there. I mean, I know you see this on YouTube all the time, you see people wearing the glass and the shit, but I want to tell you why I do it. It's a homage, it's that. But I mean, I'm going to put that on the back burner because I'm going to focus on doing a proper, my favourite Rik Mayall performances, my top 6. Why top 6? Because I'm too lazy to think of 10 or even 11, So yeah, time to get the bottom box set out and get laughing, I guess. I salute you, Rik Mayall. You were a legend even before now.